Good morning. All right, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to get right into this much-needed press conference, looking to highlight really the reality of what happens when states experiment with marijuana legalization for recreational purposes, addiction for profit, I would say. We heard yesterday in a committee vote on a bill that was introduced in short order, less than a day, kind of having a vote on a bill to legalize such a harmful proposal. And it was said by the committee chairman that we've heard from all stakeholders in the hearings that were held. I attended all 6 hearings. I did not see parents that have children addicted to high-potency THC. I did not see ER nurses. I did not see medical health professionals associations. I did not see truck associations. I did not see a variety of health professionals that are much needed in this stakeholder of marijuana legalization, the harms that we're seeing in states doing this. Those are stakeholders we need to hear from, and that's what we're here today, particularly with families that are seeing firsthand what happens with high-potency marijuana being used, especially at a young age. So with that, my name is Dan Barkowiak with Pennsylvania Family Institute, and it's my pleasure. There's a few elected officials that we appreciate being here, and then we will get to many of the parents that we have. So first, I'd introduce State Senator Kathy Rapp to give some comments as the minority chair of the House Health Committee. So thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Dan. I'm a state representative. Thank you, Dan, for elevating me to the Senate. I'm not sure if it's an elevation, but, you know, we all get paid the same, although people do think differently. But thank you all for being here, especially the families that are here with us today. It means a lot to us to hear firsthand from people who know the impacts of drug abuse and the effects that are assured to happen under legalization of marijuana. And we hear a lot of talk about the benefits of legalizing recreational marijuana, but at what cost? Do the benefits outweigh the harms? Last session, the House Health Committee held 6 hearings surrounding the topic of adult use recreational marijuana. We heard testimony from people with backgrounds in healthcare, law enforcement, public health and research, substance abuse prevention, and child advocacy, many of whom were from states where marijuana has already been legalized. One thing was made clear: no state has gotten this right. And as Dan said, we did not hear from families across this state who've been impacted firsthand by the substance use. One big argument we hear in favor of legalization is the generation of tax revenue. With that, however, comes the responsibility of determining the tax rate, and no state has been able to provide us with the sweet spot. In other words, if the tax is too high, consumers will be driven to the black market. If the tax is too low, we won't experience the projected revenue. Not to mention the increased funding that would be needed to support law enforcement, although from what I heard yesterday, the sponsor would like no law enforcement in regards to any marijuana misuse, or they just want a free-for-all, in my opinion, of marijuana use. Increased funding for mental health and substance abuse prevention services, which says, as I stated yesterday, the bill already says that the sponsor and those who are going to support this bill, they know the bill is going to create more substance abuse, just in regards to the simple fact that we're putting more money into supporting substance abuse and community services. In fact, a Centennial Institute study found that in Colorado, for every dollar received in tax revenue, $4.50 was spent to mitigate the effects of legalized marijuana. I will remind everyone of the arguments that were made in favor of legalized gambling and how the revenue generated from it would go towards reducing property taxes. How has that worked out for most homeowners? Another benefit that is often associated with marijuana legalization is a decrease in the illicit market. Proponents have consistently stated that consumers are willing to pay for a safe and quality product, which is what you get in a regulated adult use industry. However, we have seen the resiliency and in some cases the enhancement of the illegal market in states where marijuana has already been legalized. No one can point to a single state that has seen a decrease in the illicit market after legalization. Rather, as was explained during our hearings, any apparent decrease is more so attributed to a reduced market share. In other words, the illegal supply chain holds a smaller portion of a much larger market. So to say legalization has contributed to a reduction in the illicit market is a misnomer. Most importantly, legalization of recreational marijuana will have significant consequences for our children. Legalization normalizes a product and gives the impression to youth and adults alike that it is safe, that it is okay. Yet it's obvious that marijuana presents an explicit danger to our younger population, and by making recreational use legal, we are not only expanding access to adults, but to children as well. Other states have seen marijuana sold as gummies and edibles, offered in flavors and packaging that directly appeals to kids. This is incredibly troubling because through our hearings, we've learned that accidental ingestions have led to a rise in pediatric poisonings. Use in adolescence is connected to a host of mental health and substance abuse disorders which can have a lifelong impact and completely alter a child's future. Also, there is a correlation between marijuana use and teen suicide. During one of our hearings, a testifier reported that in Colorado, nearly 43% of teens that commit suicide have a presence of marijuana in their system. Also in Colorado, marijuana has become the #1 substance found in completed teen suicides, which never used to be the case. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the maternal health concerns. Marijuana use during pregnancy can result in pregnancy complications and be harmful to an infant's health and development. It is not worth it to jeopardize our children's futures. The sad thing is, for months, our caucus has focused on maternal health. And here we are. In the bill, it talks about historically impacted communities. The historically impacted communities are where we're going to see the most risk of pregnant women and the most danger to maternal health. I could go on, but these examples show that there is simply no way we can assure through legislation or regulation that our children and youth are not going to access and or be negatively affected by marijuana if it becomes legalized more widely. When it comes to marijuana legalization for adult use, many look to Pennsylvania as a state that will set a shining example. We will be the ones to finally establish a successful model. And while I appreciate the confidence in our Commonwealth, I do not see how we can be expected to get it right when every other state has failed to do so. What do we really want to be known for? Legalizing a harmful, illegal, federally substance, or ensuring the safety of our families and children? Again, I ask you to consider, do the benefits really outweigh the harms? I want to thank both the Pennsylvania Family Institute, the families who are here today, and Representative Twardzik for organizing this press conference and for all the people who have joined us here today. And I will now pass the microphone over to my colleague, Representative Tim Twardzik, who was the subcommittee chair when we conducted the hearings last session. There were no hearings this session, no hearings on this bill. But Representative Twardzik, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Really appreciate your remarks, and it's sad that we're still at this point. We spent 2 years doing robust reviews, but during those 6 hearings, we actually only were allowed to have 2 or 3 of testifiers who were on our side. But what was remarkable was that people who are pro-marijuana continue to say that there are problems and nobody's got it right, but Pennsylvania, you can do it right. Now, I have confidence that, we try our best here in Pennsylvania, but I'm not sure even we can get this marijuana program right, and it's too harmful to just willy-nilly push it through on 24 hours notice. We had a bill, I couldn't see the bill till after midnight on a Sunday night, and the next morning, yesterday, we're voting on 173 pages. But I'd like to introduce some of our other representatives here. Dave Zimmerman, Leslie Rossi. We've got Barbara Gleim, yes. Marla Brown, Charity Grupa. Come back over, Joanne Stair. It's nice to have the support of good friends in this battle, because it's a tough battle. There's so much money coming from big marijuana that it makes it difficult to stand up, but we're here to do that. So I appreciate our parents coming to speak with us, and you're going to hear some tough testimony, but I'm very happy that they're here to let people know that this is not the way Pennsylvania should go. Let's see. Chrissy? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chrissy Groenwegen, and I'm the director of the Parent Action Network, the grassroots division of Smart Approaches to Marijuana. We strive to raise the voices of the thousands of families across the country who have suffered unimaginable pain and loss because of today's marijuana and THC products, a product that is not the benign product of the past. Today, I am here with several Pennsylvania families who have been hurt by the legalization and normalization of marijuana. Too many people are naive to the real harms of today's commercial product. Lawmakers, many of whom are taking money from pot profiteers and their lobbyists, are embracing a harmful industry that's promising social justice, immense tax revenue, and regulated drugs. Too many people, especially young people, are bearing the consequences of these dangerous substances. We are not here to encourage the criminalization of marijuana users, but we don't want to see our kids' futures destroyed by these dangerous, highly potent, highly addictive, commercially produced drugs that medical and scientific data have linked to a range of physical and mental health consequences. The addiction industry is using a well-funded PR campaign to cast its manufactured THC products as recreation. But the truth is, these drugs are leaving a trail of anguish and heartbreak in every state that has experimented with legalization. I want to repeat what Representative said about Colorado. There are more pot shops than Starbucks and McDonald's combined in Colorado. And as she mentioned, for every tax dollar gained, Coloradans spend $4.50 to mitigate the negative effects of legalization. In New York, my home state, legalization has contributed to a 131% increase in cannabis-related emergency room visits. In addition to the accidental poisonings, we're also talking about young people suffering extreme physical and mental health consequences from the high-potency THC products. The families gathered here today have deeply personal, tragic stories. Their stories are emblematic of a bigger problem that is being seen in state after state, where pot-pushing politicians are risking our kids' futures for what they think is a quick buck. We're here today talking about much more than stoners like Cheech and Chong. We are talking about gummy bears, sodas, Rice Krispie treats, and other edibles. These are the kid-friendly products you'll see on the shelves if you bring legalization to Pennsylvania. Please listen to these parents' stories. Take them seriously. Legislators, your decision could have long-lasting ramifications for the public health and safety of your constituents. With that, I present to you the Huddicks.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you all members of our legislature giving us this opportunity to talk to you today. I think I really can't say that I'm happy to be here, but having the opportunity to share with you what we're going through will hopefully stop stop this insanity. Pennsylvania does not need to join in and become one of the keys in the drug trade here. And we're going to explain to you some of the things that happened to us. We're a very blessed family. I'm an ex-military officer I went through West Point. I've been blessed with a great career, but due to my military disability, I've been blessed to be able to work from home. And we've raised our 7 beautiful children.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I've been there the whole time.
We've never missed a baseball game, lacrosse game, a play, recital, anything. I never missed a outdoor Father Scout outing. And let me tell you, I didn't want to go back and sleep on the ground anymore. But we were there. We ate dinner every evening together as a family. We went to church. We did all the things they say, do this, things will be fine. Well, we can't be there 100% of the time. Unfortunately, my first daughter, she went through CMU. We were celebrating that. Shortly after, my son, one of his friends turned 18, and he was able to go and find a doctor that would give him a medical marijuana card. And then easily that 18-year-old can bring that medical marijuana into the school, and since it's high THC, it doesn't smell like weed, it's 99% THC, the teachers can't smell it being used, and it didn't take long for my child to become hooked to THC. Some of the things we've been through for the last 7 years, and since he was letting his older brother use it too, we actually had the double whammy of having 2 sons go through already a total of 23 rehabs. 24, yeah. Well, he fell off the wagon recently down in a Florida sober house, so now 24 times.
Hospitalizations, residential program.
This is highly addictive. We have no schizophrenia in our family background. We have nothing. There's no trauma here. This is all THC, high potency THC. This is not grandma's Woodstock weed anymore. This is like crack on steroids. And if our legislator if they do their job, do the homework, talk to nurses at these emergency rooms, go up to Western Psych and the mental hospital in Philly and ask them, what are you seeing with this SIP? The first time my son went into the hospital, the doctor wrote CIP on the discharge. I'm like, what's CIP? Cannabis-induced psychosis? It's just pot. What can it do? It's not pot anymore. This is being manufactured in a lab. They're taking the CBD out of it. They're jacking up the THC because they know they're going to get people addicted. Who? The younger boys mainly, whose brains aren't developed. And then, just like my 2 sons, it's been
No
7
one's
years of
immune.
hell.
I mean, we always say it's a trifecta. You know, if you're smoking when you're young, when your brain's developing, you use large amounts, and it's high strength. It could happen to anybody's kids. I mean, we had the best family, we thought, up until 2019, until this all happened, and it's been a nightmare ever since. Just never ending. And with the normalization, it's really hard to talk to your young people that this is what's doing it to you.
Here's the thing I want to say. They're saying the model is going to be like the state store. It won't get out to the youth. We left Bridgeville yesterday, and I went into our local convenience store. $5. I said, hey, what's that right there on the candy shelf that says, this is THC. It's called Double Stacked Lights. It is Delta 9, THCA, THCB, THCP. If you look at the milligrams of the total of THC, there's more THC into this little pack that is right on the candy shelf for 4th graders getting off the bus to pick up. There's more THC in this than 10 or 15 joints from the Woodstock age. Is this, so you're saying, oh, it'll be in a state store, don't worry. It's already out there. Do your homework. Why are we letting this stuff out there for our kids to just pull off the shelf and nobody's watching?
The science is out there. It's out there.
All right,
Please.
that's all I have to say.
Listen to us, because it could be any of you, anybody's family. No one's immune to this. We really don't want to be here. This is so out of my comfort zone, but I feel like I have to for my 2 sons and for all of you. Thanks for listening to us.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer, and I'm the mother of a beautiful, brilliant, funny, loving son whose life was stolen by high-potency THC. My son was high-functioning, bright, athletic, and kind. At 4, he could locate any country on a map. He read constantly. He rode bikes with his dad to Valley Forge Park every day, thrived in school. He was in AP and honor classes, a year ahead in math, the only sophomore on varsity football, a captain, a leader. He had close friends and so much promise. And now, he is a shell. He is a burden to himself, to our family, and to the state. And all of this started with THC. At 14, he tried it once from an older boy, and that was it. A door opened that we can never seem to close again. At first, it was social, manageable, but over time, it consumed him and us. When he was in college, his father, my husband, passed away suddenly. In the fog of grief and trauma, a doctor suggested medical marijuana. I even helped him get a card, thinking it was safer than him self-medicating on street THC. That one decision will always haunt me. Because from there, he spiraled. He became unrecognizable, paranoid, manic, delusional. He thought the Taliban was after him. He was even arrested for stealing Pokemon cards at a Walmart because that's what the Taliban demanded from him. He stopped showering, stopped cleaning, stopped living. He's been in and out of hospitals, jailed, homeless, dirty, bankrupt. My once very frugal, money-savvy child spent $30,000 of his own childhood savings while in psychosis over 2 days. And on nonsense. Now he lives with me. He's been sober for over a year. But my once athletic 180-pound son now weighs 340 pounds, stays in bed, barely functions. He doesn't socialize. He's not the boy who used to run 5Ks with his brothers or play flag football in the yard or make money, make his own money. Now he brushes his teeth only because I remind him. He walks the dogs only because I assign it. Let me be clear about the financial toll he has taken on us and how he once was a blessing and now a burden. He's on disability, Medicaid, food stamps, burden. He's had 13 hospital stays, burden. He's been medicated for the past 4 years, burden. He's been in outpatient care, seen therapists, been in group sessions, and has numerous psychiatrists over the past 4 years, burden. He's been in jail 3 times for petty behavior because he was in psychosis, burden. Police have been called 5 times and dispatched to find him, burden. And now he needs 6 crowns from years of neglect. Do you know how much dental care is? Burden. And his 2 younger brothers and I are now in therapy for the first time just to help to cope with this new version of him, burden. How much do you think this cost the state in just the past 3 years? What if this continues for another 10, for life? Are you making more money off the sale of high-potency THC than what you're spending to support people like my son whose minds are broken? Can you possibly be in the black when you account for all the hospitalizations, the Medicaid, the disability, therapy, police time, court time, medications, lost wages, and families torn apart? My son was a blessing. Now, because of one lie, we all believed it's just weed, it's safe. He's a burden. This isn't just my pain. It's a societal crisis. Where's the outcry? Where is the accountability for a drug we are told is safe? This is my blessing, my son. This is him now, in psychosis. 2 completely different kids. All because of THC. That's it. Make it make sense. Where is my blessing? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Monica, and I'm very grateful to be here, as many of us sad to be here, because the reason I'm here is begging to government, step up, do something. Corrupted business and corrupted doctors are telling to our children that marijuana is okay. This is my son at 15 years old, a hockey player, a kid that was striving and dreaming with all that greed that our children in America are raised for. Be rich, be smart. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer for Formula One. And guess what? He's in bed, he's now 20 years old, and he is just agoraphobic. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He lost already the 2 good jobs he had, and he has been 3 times in jail. A 20 years old boy raised in American suburbia with devoted parents, with all to be happy, with family overseas and family here, loving him. But guess what? The agenda of marijuana, that business of marijuana, put in our children that promise that marijuana is okay. My son, at 20 years old, I don't know how, when, got a marijuana card, and he says that meanwhile, marijuana card is okay, and he has his marijuana card, everything will be okay. He laughed at me because I told him that I will be here today. And he says, oh, you are fighting a big business. They know. Now my son knows that he is a devoted marijuana smoker. He has been from sweet, dedicated, academic sport kid to a violent, no will, no empathy. He barely attends with us Christmas. He just says happy birthday, mom. He doesn't come down for dinner. All the life of a normal family with devoted parents, with devoted grandparents and cousins and people around is out of the window because our children are preferring marijuana. Marijuana is the option. The question here is what we can do to stop this. Are we on time to stop this? I beg to God we are on time because our children are young. There are children, 20, 25, 27, people that has the future ahead, enclosed in their bedrooms, afraid, because if they don't have marijuana, easy to get, what else they have? I am very grateful to be here. It's a blessing to be here, but I am begging to you, the politicians, help us. We are alone in this battle, and we are losing peace, losing health, losing our children, and we are bankrupt. But the most important here is ask ourselves, is our society morally bankrupt? Seems like, because our children are dying, and we are sitting down watching that. And I want hockey players to finish the task. He wanted to be a hockey player for life and teach children to play hockey. How? He's in bed. He's at home. Let's check if he asked me how went this meeting today. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Patty Weaver, and this is my husband, Dr. Jeffrey Weaver. We're from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Had our son David never smoked marijuana, I'm sure he'd be alive today. By legalizing marijuana, it sends the wrong message. Our son used to give us the excuse, well, in Colorado it's legal, it can't possibly be harmful to you, it's not as bad as alcohol, it's not addictive, it's not a gateway drug. And at this point we know it's true, and we know that it also can cause psychosis and schizophrenia in young people who use it. The money that the state would make by legalizing marijuana is blood money. And there's nothing more to it, because young people will consume it. They will get friends to get it from the state store, and they will consume it. I'm here today because I don't want another family to lose a child to marijuana, and I also don't want another family to suffer what we've suffered in his death. We adored our son. Early in life, he had tremendous promise. He was brilliant and had high aspirations, charm, the intellect to do whatever he put his mind to, but marijuana and the addiction to it robbed him of his life and his future. Neither my husband, nor I, nor any of our other kids smoke marijuana. But David, with his charisma and his wit and his creativity, attracted all kinds of people, including those who wanted to smoke pot with him. And we tried to keep him from weed. He started when he was in 8th grade, smoking it, probably just trying it, and he really had a hard time stopping. We sent him to rehab, then we had him speak to psychiatrists, psychologists, pastors. After the first rehab, we put him in a private school away from the bad influences. Then he had to go back for another rehab, then back to another different school to be away from the kids that were wanted to smoke pot with him. David wanted to be free from his addiction. He spent a year after high school in ministry school and then in the nation's top Christian school. But during COVID, he relapsed and started smoking pot again. The hyper-potent marijuana available today robs young people of their energy, their motivation, their reasoning skills, and it affects and interferes with healthy intellectual and psychological development. Young people, we all know, do not mature, particularly boys, until they're 25 years old, and legalizing marijuana would certainly bring it to people less than that age. One of the things it does cause, which I believe is the worst disease you could possibly have, is schizophrenia. Months before David died, his psychiatrist told him if he didn't stop smoking pot immediately, he was going to develop schizophrenia, without a doubt. And we begged him to quit. We offered to do anything we possibly could to keep him from smoking. But he died about 2 years ago at the age of 27 while he was on a camping trip. His body was found in the Juniata River, and he had no drugs in his system, so he wasn't at that time under the influence of pot or any other drugs, but his mind was so messed up that we'd spoken to him a few days beforehand, and he was psychotic, and he was on that route to going crazy. Meanwhile, we have, like other families here, we don't have a family history of schizophrenia or mental health illness, and that was something that pot induced in him, and it's painful to watch somebody who is one of the top students in a school and is top rated in the state for verbal skills by Johns Hopkins just disintegrate into somebody who has no strength to find a job, who just really has a hard time getting out of bed and can't keep normal hours. So David, because he had no pot in his system, he did manage to get away from him, but that damage was terrible. The youth in Pennsylvania need the Commonwealth's protection. That's what you were elected to do, to protect us. It does not need the Commonwealth's exploitation. Thank you.
I'm Patty's husband. My name is Jeffrey Weaver, and I'm a recently retired skin cancer surgeon. Interestingly, whenever I see medical marijuana on the intake form, one of my patients, I would always ask them, how are you doing on medical marijuana? Is it helping you? Typically, probably 90% of the time, there was this long pause. And I'd say, well, doc, I don't know, maybe a little bit. Great stuff, isn't it? As Patty said, approximately 20 months ago, our 27-year-old son, David, went camping on the banks of the Juniata River. He was a musician, an excellent musician, and he went there alone to achieve the solitude that he felt he needed to write his musical masterpiece. He was a regular marijuana user since his middle school years, despite multiple efforts on the part of his parents to change this, as Patty said. While he was camping and studying his music, he began to see yellow-eyed demons. He called his sister a few days before he died and said, you know, there is this yellow-eyed demon outside of my tent. And not only that, one of the guys I met at a musical festival a few years ago, he's trying to steal my music out of my brain. That was our son. And the police and the coroner don't know for certain, but it is pretty clear to us that David jumped off a bridge into a shallow river to his death just days before he was scheduled to return home. Interestingly, at that time, he was really pretty happy. He was looking forward to coming home. He showed no signs of depression. However, he did show signs of rambling speech and marked disorganization. He was experiencing the early onset of psychosis, which, as you've heard, is a serious form of mental illness, characterized by hallucinations and delusions. Canadian researchers recently studied 11,000 teenagers that were regular users of marijuana. And they discovered that the teens that used marijuana had a psychosis rate that was 11 times greater than a comparable group of teenagers that did not use marijuana. Interestingly, not just kids, but recent studies have shown that marijuana also markedly increases cardiac disease. In other words, especially in young people. Not just psychosis like has been emphasized here, but heart disease. Do you think if a new drug came out by Pfizer and said, you know, we're gonna market this drug to young people and old people, and it has this effect? It can make you psychotic. It can give you premature heart disease. Do you think that the FDA would approve that? I don't think so. I think it's absolute insanity, psychotic insanity, to approve a drug like that. My son David was a brilliant young man that didn't achieve much in his short life. It is clear to his family and the many that knew him that his addiction led to his lack of achievement, mental illness, and untimely death. Medical authorities, as you've heard here, agree that marijuana is indeed addicting. The sale of marijuana might, and I say might, provide a boost in tax revenue, but is it worth the human suffering directly and indirectly caused by a weed called marijuana? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I first want to say, I stand here with these parents. I want to applaud their courage, and my heart goes out to you. My name is John. I'm an assistant pastor in Quakertown, and I'm here representing a family from our church, the Roth family. This is a testimony from Lily Roth. Some say a little medical or recreational marijuana won't hurt anyone. It'll just numb one's pain or take the edge off. You know, a little escape can't hurt anyone, right? Except when it actually does hurt and harm someone else. On a beautiful, clear, sunny, early evening in June, my husband and I, along with my parents, were on our way to dinner. We were stopped waiting second in line to merge onto 309 when we were smashed into the driver's side. We were struck by a 21-year-old who was driving too fast because he was high. He lost control of his vehicle and crashed into us with such force that it pushed our vehicle onto the curb. The young driver had a bong and some empty vials of marijuana in his car. His blood levels were tested and showed active drug in his system. If the airbag had not deployed, my husband, who was driving, would not have survived. My frail and elderly parents tragically could not withstand the trauma. They both died due to injuries from the crash weeks later. There was no good reason why this happened. My parents, Jamie and Eva Burgos, were certainly old, 86 and 79 respectively. However, they still enjoyed going out to dinners with us on Saturday evenings and spending time afterwards with us and our doggies in each other's homes. They enjoyed going to church with us on Sundays. That was our weekly routine. They looked forward to going to wineries, weekend getaways, hanging out with other family members, and going to family events. They may not have been vibrant, but they certainly enjoyed life. They tried to go on walks at the park whenever the weather permitted. My mother cooked every day for Dad, and Dad took care of Mom's flower garden outside. They lived on their own because they liked their independence. They weren't loners. Mom and Dad enjoyed time with their children, and they were so very happy in their new home. My parents were kind and loving to me, my brother, and my husband, and we missed them each and every day. They were taken away from us too soon. So the next time I hear, no big deal, just using marijuana, I will dispute that notion wholeheartedly. Anything that's going to hinder one's alertness and attentiveness is going to have an impact on society. I remember when we got an email through the church prayer chain that there was a bad accident, and I started to find out what was going on and go to the hospital to visit. And that's when I found out that this woman's parents were both on the IC unit in 2 different rooms. And so we were joining alongside of her, visiting her parents. Her mom was in a coma, never to come out. Her dad was unconscious and had a ton of internal injuries. He slowly came to in a painful way just to deal with his injuries. And heartbreakingly, he came to just to find out that his wife was in a coma and was dying. She passed away, and then he died of a broken heart a couple days later. Our church had a double funeral. And so just from my perspective, you can hear the testimony of another family. I can't really add too much to what was said. Besides, we join in one voice in asking anyone, especially the ones with political power, to have an ear to say no to any bill that would come forward to legalization, because are you really going to turn a blind eye to the consequences? And if you do, shame on you. If you vote yes and legalize, knowing, because the stories here aren't going to go away, they're going to multiply if you open up the floodgates, as people have been saying. So thank you for coming and listening to us today.
I'd like to thank everyone for their powerful testimony. You know, we heard blood money, burden, stolen childhood. You know, you need a little escape. Well, that's certainly not the escape we want, and they've asked us for protection, so I hope that my colleagues, that we can stand strong and work toward this. I just received this email 3 days ago. Dear Representative Twardzik, thank you for your careful approach to today's highly potent marijuana. I'm reaching out to you in hopes that I can have a meeting with you or a member of your staff, along with a convicted felon I work with. Her name is Bryn Speicher. Bryn was convicted of killing her friend by stabbing him over 100 times. She also stabbed her own service dog. She stabbed herself in the throat 43 times. Why did she commit this unspeakable violence? She was in an acute state of cannabis-induced psychosis. She was found guilty by a jury, but the judge said she had no way of knowing this horrific tragedy would have happened. And this is why we're reaching out. This is something everyone in the great state of Pennsylvania must understand about this drug. Do they know this is not the harmless medicine some claim it to be? They claim it could be held accountable for their actions while in psychosis. Had Bryn known what it could do, she never would have tried it. We'd be grateful for a meeting. And there's information to get to. She works with a nonprofit, whereverybrainmatters.org. We've been given exclusive approval from Bryn Speicher's probation officers to assist her as she fulfills her hours. Please let me know when we can schedule a time to visit and meet. That's what I'll be doing this week. Thank you.
So thank you all for being here. If you value public health, if you value public safety, the well-being of children, these are the stakeholders you need to listen to. And so thank you again, the courage that you've had, the families here sharing your story. Thank you all for attending. Please listen to these families. Thank you.